What was the weirdest date you've ever been on? Went to the Church of Scientology, roped in with promises of free food. We were on a date for Christmas. So odd. Edit, they had us take the personality test and tried to break us up. They said we were completely incompatible, to the point of being toxic. We've been together 10 years lol. Whoa. I wonder if that's some kind of weird long con. They know a majority of relationships are going to end in breakups, so they tell every couple that they're incompatible. Then, a few months down the line, the relationship starts to unravel and you think, wow, those Scientology people totally saw this coming. Maybe there is something to those meter things. Dunno. Can't think of why else they'd try to tell you to break up. Glad you made it out safely, and congrats on 10 years. It's hard to say I was catfished cause the actual girl was there, but so was her boyfriend and her friend she thought I would be a better match with. What made it more odd, is she had sent, full face not photoshopped face swapped. I could see the chest tat on her in person, no mistaking that. One of the weirder catfishes I've heard about. I stayed long enough to have a beer, cause I just didn't see how they expected this to work. Sad thing her friend was not in any way unattractive. Just the setup made me think, I'm not waking up with all my kidneys tomorrow. And why go so far as, I didn't ask first. Another one, I went on a date with this girl from Tinder. She super liked me and messaged first, so I was really happy to have someone interested. I asked if she'd like to go for a walk sometime and she said she'd love to. So we get to walking and like 5 minutes in, she asks if I have roommates. I said yes, I live with 5 people and tell her about a few of them. There's Max, Matt, Mark. Wait, Mark Smith? I know him. What's he been up to? So we start chatting about my roommate and she knows a lot about him. His family, the sports he plays, his girlfriend. Every time I try to move the conversation somewhere else, she brings it back to Mark. She's not even pretending to be into me anymore, she's just fangirling out over my roommate. I just love him, his hair is always so shiny and he smells so nice. She spends the full 2 hours talking about him and asking all sorts of questions. I didn't really know what to do, so I just boredly keep answering. When we get back to our cars, she shifts gears again. Hey, so I had a really great time. Want to go back to your place to have some fun? She's really creeping me out at this point, so I tell her I have homework to do and maybe later. I get back and tell Mark about the date and he knows exactly who she is. He picks up his phone and immediately calls the police. They show up at the house, find the girl outside in the backyard and arrest her for violating a restraining order or something. It turned out she was super unstable and had stalked my roommate since they went on one date almost a year prior. She recognized from photos she had of him and used me to find out where he lived. Is it bad that I'm impressed by her stalking skills? Like imagine if she or stalkers took all that crazy talent and became private eyes, spies, or something not insane. I had a stalker pre-internet days. She used to show up at parties and at the gym when I was there and I have no idea how she knew my schedule. I had to take my name off the phone bill because it was bad. The day after I went back on the phone bill I got a phone call. I went back on the phone bill because I got married and was so busy I didn't even think about it. Got the call day 2, after 9 years. God, they have all these interesting shows on serial killers and psychos, but I'd like to see one on stalkers. I mean, it probably is horrible to be the one being stalked, but would make an interesting thing to watch. That's actually good idea. Netflix, are you listening? The hard part would be getting any of stalkies to go on the show. They are not interested in rekindling the stalker's interest. Let me tell you, it did make for some great stories back in the day. And for some pretty frustrating times. I'm just happy there was no social media to smear me with. Because she was super organized, super smart, and super committed to destroying me if she could not have me. I matched with a Chinese exchange student on Tinder. She asked me to meet her at her apartment, then we'd go link up with some of her friends at the waterfront. We're texting as I'm on the way over, and she didn't realize this was a date. Nonetheless, she asks me to pick up dinner for both of us on the way over. I get to her apartment, and before I can even take my jacket off, she says, "So, do you have anything to say to me?" Presumably because I'd spent 15 seconds in silence. I offer her the food she asked for. She said she wasn't hungry. I try to strike up a conversation, but she dead ends every topic I bring up. She starts texting, and making phone calls. She was speaking Mandarin, presumably, but I was able to make it the name of the place we were supposed to meet her friends. She said something about how plans might change because her friend needs help. Throughout all this, I just sat by myself, eating my sandwich in silence. When I was finished, I asked if she just wanted me to leave. She said yes, then gave me $20 for dinner. So I was 18, in the Air Force, and living in the dorms. My roommate set me up with his girlfriend's cousin, and the four of us went to a movie. She brought a stuffed animal. Not a tiny little thing some young women clipped to their keychain. It was a gigantic blue rabbit at least as big as a toddler. She said she brought it because she sometimes gets scared in movies. We were seeing a comedy. After the movie, we grabbed some ice cream and drove the cousins home. My date invited me to kiss her at the door, but told me I should also kiss Pebbles so he wouldn't be jealous. Edit, of course I kissed Pebbles. My date was actually out of my league hot. But crazy. The one where I asked a girl out and she said yes and then brought her friend. And halfway through the date it dawned on me that she was trying to get me to like her friend. Oi, had that one happen to me in college. Asked girl A to come watch a horror movie in my dorm, she ends up bringing girl B along with her. I'm like whatever, still chilling with girls watching movies. Then it's kinda obvious girl A doesn't want to do anything and wants me to talk with girl B. But her friend, girl B, was pretty cool and attractive, so I was okay with it. So then girl A says, "Hey, you should go to this date night party with girl B." I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm down. End of night with girl B, we start making out and I try making moves and she's like, "Oh no, this is so wrong, girl A likes you." And I'm like, WTF. Turns out they both liked me. And no threesome ending to this story or anything. Never got to do anything with either one. I was interested in this girl, and she kind of tricked me into a double date where she was dating another guy and had fixed me up with her sister. Being a good sport, I went along with it and it was awkward but okay-ish. But then she set me up with her sister again and this time it was just the two of us. We went to the park. She had filled the trunk of her car with troll dolls, I mean dozens and dozens of them, and spent the entire date introducing me to her trolls one by one. I should mention we were in our 20s. She was getting frustrated and angry because I didn't seem all that interested in her dolls. So sitting there, hands full of troll dolls, she exasperatedly asks me, "So are we going to have? Do you even know how to have?" Not with you I don't. I said, and got up and walked home. There's only so much one can endure while being polite. LMAO, this reminds me of a girl I saw briefly back in my late teens. I was 19 and she was 24, mostly she came to my apartment or we fooled around at work, we worked together. First time I go to her place, as soon as I walk in there's just Care Bears everywhere, I means dozens of stuffed animals, posters, every single movie she owned, everything was Care Bears. The first thing I asked was, "Are you going to murder me?" Then she asked if I was hungry, only thing she had was leftover pizza from the place we worked. I figured it was a good time for me to leave. She married a guy I know and eventually they got divorced. He complains to me about her all the time because she still breastfeeds their 4-year-old son, which is giving him digestive issues, and a doctor even appealed on his behalf that she's harming their children and should lose custody, but because of the state we in they still let her keep the kids. Also he's been remarried for a couple years now, but she is still telling their kids that mommy and daddy are just fighting and he's going to come crawling back to her any day now.